Greg was an ordinary man working for a construction company in a small town in the western U.S. His life was neither easy nor exciting. Every day he woke up at dawn, worked hard until late in the evening, and then, exhausted, returned to his old mobile home where his wife Janet and their 2 children were waiting. Greg wasn't rich, but he always tried to give his family the best he could. One day, after a tough work week, Greg went to the local store to buy bread and a few other items. He had noticed this man before, sitting on an old wooden bench by the store entrance, a veteran burdened by a hard life. He had gray hair that was starting to fall out, and red marks from old scars that each had their own story. The man often sat there, watching the passing cars, seeming lost. This time, when Greg came out of the store, he noticed that the veteran, as usual, was sitting on the bench. But this time, something was different. The man managed to get up and walk over to Greg, holding his hand to his chest, looking down at the ground with a somewhat confused expression. "Listen, brother, I'm short a few dollars for bread," he said in a quiet, barely audible voice. "I wouldn't ask, but bread is all I have right now." Greg looked at him. The veteran clearly wasn't in his right place, wearing an old uniform from his service days, with tired eyes that had clearly seen more than most people could handle. "You know, brother, I'd be happy to help," Greg said as he looked at the old man. "But I don't have much. Sorry, I wouldn't leave you hanging, but I don't have any money." The veteran smiled through his pain, but his eyes didn't get any lighter. "I understand, brother," he replied, stepping back. "Sorry for asking. I can't say I only need this. But it would really help me." Greg watched as he slowly walked back to the bench. His heart suddenly filled with an inexplicable feeling of sympathy. The veteran wasn't just homeless. He wasn't just someone who had lost everything. He was part of something bigger, a story that Greg didn't know. "Wait," Greg suddenly called out. He walked toward him, pulling his wallet from his pocket. "I'll help. Take this." The veteran looked at Greg with surprise and a bit of doubt, but then took the money. You don't know what you're doing," he said with a slight smile. But Greg felt something was wrong, something important. And that's when the unexpected happened. "You don't understand why I'm helping you," the veteran said quietly, smiling, but his eyes became serious. "You just helped not just me. You just signed $1 million contract. Now we need to meet and talk about your future." Greg stopped, not understanding who that was. "Morgan Freeman?" he asked, trying to grasp what was happening. "Yes, it's me," the veteran said. "And not just help. You just signed $1 million contract. Now we need to meet and talk about your future." Greg was stunned. These words pulled him out of reality like a powerful blow. He couldn't believe this was true. How could this have happened? This was just the beginning. And he would have to go through a difficult journey to learn what the consequences of this chance meeting would be. What exactly awaited him in this story? And would he be able to find the answers to the questions that arose in his mind was unclear. But one thing was certain: this would change everything. Now, Greg had to walk a path where money, life, honor, and responsibility became part of the game, where he would face people he never could have imagined, and deeper internal conflicts than ever before. But the most important question remained: could he find a way to understand and change this world, even if it seemed like everything had already been decided? Greg sat on a bench in the park, imagining himself as a completely different person. His life, which had once been invisible and full of difficulties, was now starting to change. He was no longer just the poor man who was ashamed of his situation. His relationship with Morgan Freeman, the undercover war veteran, had changed his life forever. He still couldn't believe what had happened. His simple act, helping a person who seemed to be in need, had led to huge changes. It turned out that this unfamiliar man, the old veteran, was actually Morgan Freeman, disguised as an ordinary old man, and his gratitude wasn't just simple. He had offered Greg $1 million. Greg didn't understand why it was him, but it was clear that this had changed his life, Morgan had probably seen in him something that others had long forgotten: kindness, something hard to find in a world where everyone only thinks about themselves. Now, Greg had the opportunity he had dreamed of all his life. He was not only financially independent, but he also had the chance to change his life beyond recognition. His first goal was to reconnect with his family, whom he hadn't seen for years due to his financial struggles. The road to rebuilding those relationships wasn't easy. Greg had not been in touch with his brother and sister for many years, as they had long stopped supporting him, thinking he should solve his problems on his own. But now, with money and opportunities, he realized that time was not on his side. He gathered all his strength and went to his hometown, hoping for a chance to find restored family warmth. When he stepped over the threshold of the old house, his heart felt heavy. He hadn't been here for many years. His sister, May, was at home. At first, she didn't recognize him. His appearance had changed so much. Greg was no longer the poor man she remembered. He stood before her with a confident expression, not sorrow. "Greg," she asked, unable to believe her eyes. "Yes, it's me, May. I'm sorry for all the years of silence," he said, trying to smile. "You look different. You look happy," she said, cautiously walking toward him. Her voice was filled with emotion, and Greg felt how hard it was for him to rebuild these bonds, but he felt it was important. They talked for a long time. Greg told her how he helped the war veteran, how this incident changed his life, and how now he could take care of his loved ones and benefit himself. May was impressed, even shocked, but a spark of hope lit up in her eyes. "You've changed, Greg, and I need to change too. We both have a chance to start over," she said. They hugged. This was the first step toward rebuilding broken connections. Greg felt relief and joy. Hope had entered his life. The next steps were to return to what once seemed unattainable. Greg started working with some people, helping to organize charity events. He became a well-known figure in the local community, and while he didn't seek fame, it helped him feel the importance and value of his work. He also invested part of his money into a business to help others who had found themselves in similar situations to what he had faced before. Greg began creating an organization to help the homeless and those who found themselves in difficult life circumstances. This project gave him a sense of purpose, and he felt that the changes that had happened to him could benefit others as well. Greg not only helped people financially, but also gave them an opportunity to change their lives, just as Morgan had helped him. He understood that not everything in life depended on money, but it could be a tool for real change. And while his life was improving, Greg never forgot that he had become who he was thanks to one small act of kindness, and that even the smallest step could be the beginning of a great change. Greg's life began to truly change. He felt alive again, filled with purpose, and although he still had a long way to go, the changes were evident. Over the next few months, he invested his share of the winnings into several projects that turned out to be successful. In particular, he started a small business specializing in repairing and refurbishing furniture for people who couldn't afford new items. This business not only helped him, but also provided numerous people with employment and a stable income. In addition, Greg became actively involved in charity events, supporting the homeless and those in difficult situations. He didn't just give money, but also organized events that allowed people to find jobs or opportunities for growth. One such event was a fair where the homeless had the chance to sell their handmade items. Greg provided them with resources to work, enabling them to earn a living. The project became very popular, and many people, even those who had initially doubted, began to support Greg and his initiative. Thanks to his dedication and hard work, Greg gained respect among his new acquaintances and colleagues. He became not just a successful businessman, but also a person to whom not only family, but strangers would turn for help. Morgan Freeman, the old veteran who became his friend and mentor, was also very proud of Greg. They often met, and Morgan gave him advice on how to manage his finances and business properly, not only to increase profits, but also to help even more people. One day, Greg met an old acquaintance, Sarah, a woman he once loved deeply. She looked at him in surprise when she saw how much his appearance and confidence had changed. "Greg, is it really you?" she said, unable to believe her eyes. He smiled and replied, "Yes, it's me. It seems life gave me a chance to start over." They talked a lot about the past and how life had taken them down different paths. Sarah was amazed by his transformation and noted that he had become stronger and wiser. She told him how hard it had been for her to keep her optimism, but now, thanks to his story, she too started to believe in herself. A chance appeared again, one he hadn't even dreamed of. Greg and Sarah began seeing each other. They realized that, although they couldn't return to what was, they could still build something new together. Their connection was special, not because of romance, but because of a shared drive for change. With every new project, Greg felt more confident. He realized that even the darkest moments could become the foundation for something beautiful. His businesses were thriving, and helping others became his main goal. He was opening new opportunities for those who had no chance of a better future. Greg began working with other entrepreneurs, particularly with local schools and organizations, creating programs for teenagers who wanted to learn new professions and start their own businesses. This became the next step on his path to significant change in his life. He became a mentor to young people, and their enthusiasm for his experience only confirmed that he was on the right path. Eventually, Greg even opened his own center for social initiatives, where people could receive help, advice, and support for life changes. This became his true purpose, and he never felt tired because he could see the results of his work. Greg's life gradually became not only better, but also filled with meaning. He felt that with each passing day, his mission became clearer: to help those in need and create a world where opportunities for change are available to everyone, no matter where they start their journey. He was no longer afraid of the future. And although life still brought him challenges, he knew that thanks to his actions and determination, his life would only get better and better. Greg's life continued to improve, as if he had entered a new phase, where every day brought not only new challenges, but also opportunities for growth. His business was thriving, and he was once again gaining recognition for his work. Thanks to his strong determination to change his life, Greg was able to attract investors to his project and expand it to new heights. He launched several social initiatives, including creating a fund to support low-income families, where children could receive free vocational training courses. His goal was not only to help people escape poverty, but also to give them a chance for a better future. However, the biggest change was that he became more open to new opportunities in his life. One day at a charity event, Greg met Daniela, a woman who was also actively involved in social projects. They immediately hit it off and decided to create a new startup together, focusing on environmental initiatives and sustainable development. Their collaboration proved to be highly productive, and the business not only began to generate income, but also helped shift the approach to ecology in their city. Over time, Greg felt that his attitude toward life had changed. He became more confident in himself, understanding that even in the most difficult times, there was always a path to improvement. Thanks to his new friends and partners, his social network grew, and his name became associated with charity, help, and support. Additionally, Greg began actively engaging in physical exercise, which not only improved his health, but also brought new energy into his daily life. Over time, he got into shape and began to enjoy sports, practicing yoga and running, which gave him a sense of inner harmony. His physical activity also became part of his business mentality, as Greg started using his example to motivate others. With each passing year, Greg received more recognition for his achievements. His story became an inspiration for many people, and his company started generating steady profits. One day, Greg received an invitation to a major forum dedicated to social initiatives, where he became one of the keynote speakers. His speech inspired many listeners, and Greg once again realized how important it was to help others. He rediscovered the joy of life in sharing his experience and helping people change their attitude toward problems. Over time, Greg became well known not only in his city, but also beyond its borders. His business began operating in other regions, and he became an active participant in various charity programs, contributing to the improvement of many people's lives. His heart had room for everyone in need of help, and he always believed that change for the better was possible. One of Greg's greatest achievements was that he no longer feared losing everything. He realized that true wealth lies in human relationships, in supporting one another, and in changing the world around you for the better. With renewed strength and inspiration, Greg continued to move forward, aware that the best was yet to come. A few years later, Greg became a role model. Not only did he achieve financial success, but he also became a true leader in his community, never resting on his laurels. His life stood as a living proof that even from the darkest moments, one can emerge if you stick to your beliefs and work on yourself and your mission. Despite the fact that Greg's life had improved significantly, he never forgot his roots. Every day for him was not just a new opportunity for business, but a chance to change the world around him. He had become not only a successful entrepreneur, but also a thought leader, whose name had become synonymous with hope and change. Over time, Greg began to remember the moment when he met Morgan Freeman undercover. His help to the war veteran became not just a gesture of goodwill, but a pivotal moment that changed not only his life, but the fate of many people around him. He realized that even small acts of kindness could create big changes. This moment became the foundation of his philosophy. Change begins with ourselves. Each year, his Veteran Assistance Program became more popular, and the companies he worked with invested more in social initiatives. Greg had not only become a symbol of success for others, but also an inspiration for those who, like him once, found themselves at rock bottom. But Greg did not stand still. He realized that the most important thing was not reaching the peaks, but remaining true to himself and the people he helped. And although his life was filled with success, he never lost the same drive to help others. Every day, he continued to work on himself, and his heart remained open to those in need of support. In his last speech at an international forum, he said, "Life is not only about achievements and victories. It's about being able to help each other, to make this world a better place, even through small actions that can have a huge impact." The hall was silent, listening to every word he said. And though this phase of his life was coming to an end, Greg understood that the best was yet to come. As he entered a new phase of his life, he felt that the changes in his heart, at work, and in society were ongoing. His journey was proof that even through the darkest moments, one could move forward with dignity, and true success comes when you put others first. And though this was only one chapter in the great book of his life, he knew it was the most important chapter. Because every day is a new chance to change your environment, even if it means taking just one small step. But the most important thing was that Greg had found his place in this world, a place where change was real, where helping others was his purpose, and where life had true value. As Greg's life continued to improve, he never lost sight of where he had come from. Every day wasn't just a new business opportunity, but a chance to make a difference. He wasn't just a successful entrepreneur now. He had become a symbol of hope and change. Over the years, his Veteran Assistance Program grew in popularity, with more and more companies investing in social initiatives. Greg had become not only a role model for success, but an inspiration for others who, like him, had once been at rock bottom. But Greg didn't stop there. He realized that it wasn't about reaching the top, it was about staying true to himself and to the people he had helped. And while his life was filled with success, he never lost his desire to assist others. Every day, he continued to work on himself, and his heart remained open to those who needed support. In his final speech at an international forum, he said, "Life isn't just about achievements and victories. It's about having the chance to help each other, to make this world better, even through small actions that can have a huge impact." The audience was silent, hanging on every word. And while the chapter of his life was coming to an end, Greg knew that the best was still ahead of him. Entering this new phase of his life, he understood that the changes in his heart, in his work, and in society were ongoing. His journey proved that even through the darkest moments, you could walk with dignity, and true success came when you put others first. And though it was just one chapter in the larger book of his life, he knew it was the most important one. Because every day is a new chance to change your surroundings, even if it's just one small step. But most importantly, Greg had found his place in the world, a place where change was real, where helping others gave life true meaning, and where life itself had true value.